For those who aren't familiar, nerdcore is a term that was developed by the MC Frontalot in 2008, I believe, to categorize kind of his like very nerdy, geeky raps. And there were other folks around that time who were also kind of using hip hop as a way to express their geeky, nerdy identity, which, you know, for in terms of the popular or the mainstream face of hip hop, it seems like, oh, that's an inversion of what's important in hip hop. Although there have always been geeks and nerds in hip hop expressing their relationship to geek and nerd culture. But that's another story for another day. But basically, this term has found a lot of favor with a lot of folks. So when there are artists who rap a lot about video games or cartoons or particular, you know, pieces of pop culture, they're often called nerdcore, like if they lean into that a little bit. So the fact that I rap a lot about video games, my name comes from a video game, my references are very sort of layered in particular nerd and geek pop culture. I talk about like The Simpsons a lot and other sorts of things that folks who are tuned into pop culture would relate to. It started to be called nerdcore music, basically. And I wasn't the one who said that. So I felt some frustration there because it was like I have people labeling me in a particular way that I never even had a chance to figure out what I do, you know, who I am and who I want to be. And so I bristled at the term just for that alone. But the other part of it is that in terms of the politics of nerdcore, you know, many of the artists who have risen to prominence are white men, right? Are white dudes who have an interesting relationship with hip hop iconography. And sometimes it's not clear to me whether there's a mockery there or there's a celebration there, or, you know, it's complicated. And so to me, Afrofuturism was a much more, was a term that better encapsulated what I was trying to do, because it has to do with this like aesthetic and political movement around Black people existing in spaces that we were told we were never supposed to exist in. So future spaces, video game spaces, virtual spaces. But it has a very specific relationship to Blackness and Black identity. Black Panther is known as kind of an Afrofuturist figure. So I liked Afrofuturism because it was rooted in Black identity, and nerdcore is a more kind of broad term than that.
When I